everyone. Today we're going to be taking a look at pages 22 and 23 in your lesson book. And as you can see, this is about the key of D major. So we've done a lot of playing in D major already. So even though this is new material that we're playing, a lot of it should be a review. It should be really familiar and seem like you've kind of done this before because you have. Again, the key of D major, F sharps and C sharps. And we'll get going right now with 118. So we're going through our first position finger patterns, starting on the E string. And if you're a violin, you'll probably remember that in the key of D major, the only string with low 2 is the E string. So that's why this is the 1-2 pattern. So we'll go ahead and play this, violins. Okay, going on to the A string, everyone has this. If you're a violin or viola, it's a 2-3 pattern. This should seem like this, whatever you're playing right now is the second half of the 1-octave D major scale that you learned in 4th grade. So again, super simple here. 2-3 pattern violins and violas. Here we go. The D string, again, 2-3 pattern for violins and violas. This should feel like the beginning of the D major scale that you learned in 4th grade. So again, we already know this, super simple. Moving on to G, now we have a C sharp on the G string, so we have to make sure we account for that. So violins and violas, it's a 3-4 pattern. You're going to stretch that third finger. Cellos, you have to play with an extension, so 2 fingers on the B, and that will put your 4th finger in the correct spot to play the C sharp. Here we go. Good. And going on to the C string, this is where things get a little bit weird because you cannot play your open C string in the key of D major because we're not looking for C natural like the string, we're looking for C sharp. So you're going to start with a low 1 for C sharp, and then it's going to be, so for cellos, for violas, you have a 3-4 pattern, but you have to do low 1 and then bring your first finger back to first position and then do the 3-4 pattern. So you don't just put down low 1 and then do 3-4 pattern. It's low 1 up to regular first finger and then the 3-4 pattern. So I hope that makes sense. Same deal with cellos. You do the low 1 and then you go to first position and do extended position. So here we go. We're starting with C sharp. I'm playing it an octave higher, but that's okay. Here we go. Okay, so that's the only really tough part about this was the C string stuff. Moving on now to 119. Now we're in 3rd position, and again, especially for violins and violas, you should feel the most comfortable shifting in the key of D major. So if we're going to start on the E string for violins, this is a 3-4 pattern. So again, this is like the second half of the 2nd octave of the D major scale. You have done this before. So here we go. Jumping over to the A string, same deal, 3-4 pattern. Over to the D string, now we have the open pattern, all whole steps. The G string is a little strange because normally you would put your first finger here on C, but we want C sharp, so you're going to bump your first finger up a half step. So we're kind of in, for cellos, they actually call it 3rd and a half position. They don't call it that for violins or violas, but I like to think of it that way anyway. We were in 3rd and a half position, and we're doing the 1-2 pattern.
Part of the interruption, there is a difference in what is for lunch today. It is brunch for lunch. Once again, it is brunch for lunch today.
Okay, here we go. Okay, and violas and cellos, it's the same deal on the C string because it's F sharp that you're starting on. So here we go. Awesome. So those are all the different finger patterns you can have to do. And again, some of those are kind of weird, and you'll see that they don't really come up in the examples we're playing. Often, like for violins, if you're in the key of D major, you're going to shift on the A and E strings. That's what we've been doing all along. And some of those weird ones where it's like a high 1, you don't often see that. And you could, so you need to be prepared for it. But obviously, that's a little more challenging, and we'll deal with that when we get to something that has that in it. 120, the D major scale, 2 octaves. This should be a piece of cake for everyone. I'm just going to play it. Remember, if you're a cello or viola, there are some extensions, but you do not have to shift. And if you're a violin, there's one shift right in the middle on the 2nd octave. So remember, we always play these like they're quarter notes. We don't worry about the rhythm. And we're going to just go for it. Here we go. Hopefully, like I said, a piece of cake. We've been doing that for a long, long time. So we'll move on now to number 123, Trumpet Voluntary. This is a great one to practice, not only playing in 3rd position, and there's some other positions depending on what instrument you are, but 3rd position for violins and violas. But you also get a chance to play a little bit in 1st position in this key and then work in some accidentals. So that's always a good thing to have to deal with in pieces and exercises like this. So Trumpet Voluntary, it starts for violins in 3rd position. Cellos and violas, you just hang out in 1st position. So this really should not be difficult for cellos and violas at all. And for violins, you'll find it's not that bad either. So we're going to start for violins in 3rd. And remember that we have that whole half pattern in 3rd position. So space, space, close. I'm going to play all the way from the beginning through the end of the 4th measure, which is at the end of the 1st ending. It's going to sound like this. Okay, the only thing that we may have missed if you're a violin, in that 4th measure, you played E with 2 fingers, and then some of us just out of habit for that A might play them as an open A, open string, no fingers. What I would like you to do is go over to the D string and put down 2 fingers. It's the same note, but it's good practice to know how do I play that note in 3rd position, okay? I'm going to do that again, but this time I will go to the 2nd ending. So very similar, but a little bit of difference once we get to the 2nd ending. Here we go. Okay, now we are on the next phrase here that starts on the F sharp, and you'll see that the 2nd half note in that measure is a G sharp. That's not in the key signature, but they've included it as an accidental, and we will make sure that we play that accidental. But when we get to the next measure, we'll see that they actually were very nice and marked the G as a natural to remind us that once you leave the measure with the accidental, you have to start following the key signature. They didn't actually have to do that, but that was very nice of them. And then we play through there's another accidental, and then before we get to the part where the recap comes with that last repeat sign, there is one little shift if you're a violin at the end there. And violas, it looks like they give you one shift too. It's just a little shift up to third position there. So you find that measure violas where you have, oh, they give you a couple of shifts. Okay, they're both times they're having you go like this. So you're shifting up to 2 fingers, 2, 3, 2, 1. I guess they didn't want you to go the whole exercise without a shift. So, and it's the same deal with cellos. You shift there as well. So I'm going to start its measure. It's the fifth measure with the F sharp half note. Here we go. Ready, and. We do the same thing. Here's the shift violin. Good, and then if you look at the rest is identical to the beginning. So we're going to go through 123 right now, play it with all the repeats, all the shifting. Remember, if you're a different instrument than violin, then you have shifting in different places, so make sure you're doing that. But this should all sound the same for everybody. So from the top, 1, 2, here we go. Here we go. Accidental. Just like the beginning. Awesome. So hopefully you were able to get through that one pretty easily. I really like this tune because it gives you a chance to practice some shifting, but it's not too overwhelming. It's pretty straightforward. And then the last thing we'll cover in our lesson, but I'm actually going to leave this for you to do on your own, is the chorale in D, number 124. A couple of things I'll point out. First of all, violins and violas, you'll see on the A line, you actually shift on the second note. So it's sort of weird. You start in first and then immediately shift, so it'll look like this. So instead of 2, 3, it's 2, 1. And then you just stay up in third for just a couple of notes and then back to first. But just don't miss that. It'd be really, really easy to miss that shift at the beginning. And then the rest of it should be pretty straightforward for everyone to figure out. And I want you to have a chance to work through some of these on your own anyway. So we will go through it together in our lesson, but you can take some time to work on that on your own. So keep working on this stuff. I'll see you at your lesson, and thanks for watching.